please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. Counting down to pre-open should be a decent start considering the global cues and the fact that if banking should do well, bond yields also could come down. So looks like we are in for a decent start for sure. Avenue Supermart, better known as D-Mart, of course, posted a good set of numbers, but how much of it is already in the price at 1486? We have Abneesh Roy of Edelweiss joining here. Abneesh, good morning. Your thoughts on the numbers and what's your stock call now?
I think at the first glance, clearly it seems a decent set of numbers. So good revenue growth, good profit growth. Store addition has also picked up. But if you go into deeper analysis, then I think there are 2-3 key concerns. So one is the like-to-like sales growth that has come off significantly. It has been growing at 21% past few years. This year the growth has been only 14%. So that's a big slower growth. If you see in terms of sales per square feet, also just 5% growth. That is again showing that a lot of the stores are reaching the maturity. If you go to a D-Mart store, you'll find a lot of customers, but that is the issue, that how do you get new customers if already the stores are full? I think that's a key issue for the management also. Second, of course, is quarter-on-quarter margins have slipped significantly. I think that is something in which we seek clarity. So YOY margins have improved, but quarter-on-quarter EBITDA, gross margins both have slipped significantly. My sense is it could be partly because competitive intensity in the sector has increased significantly. If you see, future retail has been advertising in terms of the lowest price guarantee. They are advertising significantly in the IPL. So I think some section of consumers who are die-hard fans of D-Mart, now they will see Big Bazaar and to an extent Reliance Retail also as a viable option from a lowest pricing positioning. I think that's the key concern. The number of stores also, if you see, it has picked up in this quarter, but I think that's the longer term challenge for the company. So as of now, we feel at 68 times FY20 P multiple and 40 times EV EBITDA FY20 multiple, I think it's priced fairly priced at this, and there could be some near term correction, because clearly in terms of margins, quarter on quarter the slippage I think is a concern. Okay. So we like the company from longer term perspective, but I think near term there could be some correction in the stock.
Okay. Thank you very much, Abneesh. That was a comprehensive reply in terms of the stock's performance and your own opinion regarding the stock. Thank you very much for joining us. The markets have opened with a fairly decent amount of green, 1/3% higher. I'm waiting to see how the rupee opens, because the rupee should see pressure. Not much pressure. Considering that crude and dollar are working against it, I think the rupee's had a fairly good showing, you'll have to say. One expected weakness because the dollar strength was a bit startling, but it's held its own. So that should be, well, a bit of a positive. At least it's not a rattling number. I'm still looking for, well, Avenue Supermarts, if there is a trade, and ICICI. I say that I guess will swing all through the day. It's better to look at Avenue. Avenue is showing a little bit of disappointment in terms of the way it's opened.
A couple of more stocks. Hexaware actually is seeing a bit of a bounce back. The management was quite optimistic, as you just heard a while back. So despite the weakness in numbers, they're quite confident that Q2 will look good. I mean, it's not the numbers that were weak. It's actually the fact that they didn't scale up their guidance that the street was worried about. Apart from Hexaware, PC Jewelers is up almost about 10-odd%. On the 10th of May, they plan to do a buyback. So keep an eye out on that. And a couple of others. Fortis Healthcare, once again in the news, up almost about 2-odd% or so. Edelweiss post its numbers, has been gaining so much ground. So that stock too is up almost about 1-odd% also.
Oh yes, I think quite an interesting market. I would keep an eye on ICICI Bank. I think that really would be an interesting one to track through the day. That of course holds the key. So 0.5% higher is what we have on ICICI Bank for starters. And a couple of other stocks which look quite interesting right now. If you look at the moves, Ruchi Soya, I mean, it's again the jury is out on whether what will happen to shareholders, but 9% higher. So 2 or 3 companies now in race for that one.
In the wildest dreams, the bankers didn't expect to get money on Ruchi Soya. I mean, they expected in steel, but Ruchi Soya was always written off.
Yes.
So for bankers, it's good. I agree. For investors,
I think even
cannot
Adani, Wilmar are planning now. Patanjali is there, so there are a couple
Patanjali
of.
looks like what the market says is an aggressive bid.
Oh yes. Motherson Sumi is the other one, up about 3% in pre-opening, so looking quite interesting. But let's do one thing. Let's find out about the commodity markets. Here's Manisha with a quick roundup. Manisha, good morning.
Morning, Anuj, and I would keep my eyes and bet everything on crude oil prices right now. The kind of gains that you have seen come in for the Asian markets right now are quite strong. We actually have seen follow-through buying from what we saw on Friday. So fresh 2014 highs or fresh 3.5-year highs is what we are looking in case of the crude oil price. Is a good percentage point of gain is how that one is trading. Well, majorly it is about the Iran nuclear deal, on how US really takes a call on that. The deadline is for May 12th. So all of this week you are looking at jittery, volatile crude oil prices, which premium continuing to hold on that. The other concern really comes in from Venezuela, where we have seen the tensions increase. The output in Venezuela has been declining for last 6 and 7 months. And with the tensions escalating, it's not just the geopolitical premium building up, but the supplies have been going down as well. And that has been supportive. Of course, on the other side, you still have increasing supplies from Iran. The US rig count has increased. We have seen the output continue to gain up on the higher side as well. And that would keep the prices in check. But having said that, we have opened the market quite on the higher side. It's the same case for the metal space as well, with the US dollar rally taking a pause. You have seen the zinc, aluminum and nickel prices gain up in Shanghai. Remember, the LME markets are shut today, so we wouldn't get much of the cues after Europe opens. So it really is about Asia where you are looking at buying continuing.
Okay, Manisha, thank you very much. If you're excited about crude getting to 75, I'm quite excited about the way the bond markets have opened. Not 7.6, 7.59. So that's quite a reaction, 16 basis points lower than where it closed on Friday. So that would be a fairly big tailwind for at least some sections of the market.
Okay, well, one more stock just to look at, we've spoken about that in top 10, is Lupin. It's one of the big Nifty losers today. Apparently, their diabetes product profile is seeing a high volume loss. Credit Suisse put out a note on that as well. So maybe there could be some pressure that Lupin could face, down 1%.
Yeah, there's another interesting one, Bharti Airtel, which is up about 3%. So I don't know if there's some news on that, but really the stock to watch is ICICI Bank, now up about 1.8%. So let's see, that should keep the Bank Nifty in good stead. Of course, if we have an open around that 288 mark on ICICI Bank.
Okay.
But
with that, sorry.
Yeah, please.
Okay, no, I just thought with that, let's welcome Udayan Mukherjee to join in the conversation. Udayan, good morning from the high hills. How does ICICI look to you?
Well, the Axis Bank's reaction, Lata, was quite interesting last time around, and I think everybody's thinking about that after the Axis howler, if the stock could go up 10%, are we going to see an encore with ICICI if it also goes on to post disappointing numbers as the street expects? So I guess we'll have to see what the extent of disappointment is, adjusted for the ICICI Securities inflow, cash inflow, but it will all depend on what kind of kitchen sinking they will do, what is their slippages position in this current quarter, and whether the market has that confidence, as they seem to have after the Axis numbers, that they are actually fast-forwarding the process of disclosure, and in the subsequent quarters the reported damage will not be that bad. So it's a nuanced call on ICICI, but I would submit that the day the Axis numbers came out, the market was probably on a different kind of a momentum spiral, where even on bad news, stocks were going up because the market clearly wanted to go higher beyond the 10,600 threshold. Over the last few days, we've seen a couple of disappointing reactions to good results. I mean, NIIT Tech, Hexaware, where the stocks came off. Of course, they had gone up a lot, but they came off after good news. I don't know whether that's a sign that the momentum picture is a little different from the market now than compared to when the Axis results came out. So I think the results reaction would be quite interesting to see for ICICI, and it depends on a large extent to whether even on watered down expectations there is a disappointment.
Okay. Udayan, hi, good morning. Since you started by talking about howlers, let me take that point forward. A lot of erstwhile wealth creators reported howlers this time around, whether it was HCL Tech with their weak guidance or even Interglobe with a big fall in yields. How do you approach names like these now?
Sonia, I think the result season was okay. I mean, you had hits and misses, but just in the last week or so, I think the mood might have got soured a little bit. It's not like anybody is any big company has come in with a massive howler. But on the margin, you mentioned HCL Tech, that was disappointing. Indigo was bad. A couple of consumer names like Marico and Imami did not do well. Hero Motors and Ambuja were just about okay. Siemens was a bit of a howler and had bad news to share with the market on order inflows. I think it's just taken off a little bit of sheen from the earnings season as well. And ICICI Bank will be very critical today in determining what final number we end up with for the Nifty for FY18. But I think it would be fair to say that you're not ending the earnings season on a note where you say that this was the great turnaround quarter and now we can thumb the table on 20% plus earnings growth for FY19. I think we are ending on a bit of a grey note for earnings as well. I mean, we can talk about individual names separately, but I think the last week's selling, particularly from FIIs, was not only because of crude, it might have had a little bit to do with earnings disappointments as well.
Okay, by the way, pre-open has now settled 10,653 on the Nifty, 35 points higher. The Bank's Nifty up about 30 points. Within morning, so, Karnataka elections, jury's out. I mean, we had a cliffhanger, of course, in Gujarat as well. It looks like this one's headed that way. Could it be a bit of a mini binary event for the market?
It's an important event, Anuj. In fact, that's the thing about this week's trade, that you have a couple of important events. I think one is, the first event is the 12th of May, where the Trump deadline on Iran faces us. And crude is so important now, particularly in a relative context for India. I think if crude breaks out above 75, 76 beyond the 12th of May, and we make a decisive move towards $80 a barrel, I think that's a big roadblock for us. So that's the first event we need to negotiate with, particularly for our own market. Beyond that, the Karnataka elections, I don't know how it will pan out. I don't think anybody can call how it will turn out. But one thing's there, I mean, having looked at the last 6 months of election results, you could have a situation like you've had with many smaller states where the single largest party does not go on to form the government. It's possible that the Congress is number one in Karnataka, but some other BJP forms the government with the JDS. I mean, that's a likelihood which the street might be betting on at this point in time, but it's too close to call. And we'll see. But the market will probably get a little cautious just 2 days before the results, because there is no poll or there is no opinion which is coming out which is decisively saying that it is the BJP which has the advantage in Karnataka. But it will be an important event, particularly in the light of where global markets and crude stand by the time we are there to the 16th of May.
Okay, by the way, just about 5 minutes left for markets to open. So let's get Ashwini's 9-10 call. Ashwini, pre-open settled at 10,653. Is there a trade here? And your 9-10 call?
See, it's rather lukewarm. So I don't think the index may do a whole lot if this is the open. But individual stocks, I think ICICI Pru can be bought with a stop, say around 428, target of 450. And I would keep an eye on Hexaware. If it starts to hold Friday's low, there could be a bit of a turnaround there. Often, one day could be an overreaction.
Well, let me get back to Udayan while there is still time. 4 minutes to go. So we will be able to get that question in. Udayan, how would you have reacted if the trading hours extension had come in your time? We could go on and on and on trading till 12 midnight, we are told. Anyway, bad news for us perhaps, but what's your take?
Well,
you switched off the lights. You switched off the lights even as I asked you.
Yeah, I know it calls for a reaction like that. But my sympathies to all of you. I can say that next season you guys are not watching IPL. You're tracking Nifty and Bank Nifty futures for sure at 8 o'clock in the evening.
Okay, Ashwini, your thoughts as a trader? Markets, futures market open even post 3:30, almost till midnight.
See, the sleep period of the market is likely to increase, and I don't think too much volume will happen unless there is, some breaking news happening in the night, and only index futures will see those volumes. I don't think individual stock futures are going to do too much, but I'll go home at 3:30. So I'm not sitting around.
But Udayan, what surprises me is I would have thought the Nifty future should begin at 6 in the morning and end by maybe 6 in the evening. This is crazy. The market wants an index before they open. is this not a very strange way to extend trading hours?
You know, Lata, I think a lot of international market futures actually trade well after the actual market, the cash market closes. So I guess SEBI's thinking is that it will give stock traders an opportunity to react directly for the European opening and even the US market opening. So actually you could see a fairly vibrant trade in the Nifty futures and the Bank Nifty futures, depending on how Europe proceeds to trade and how the US markets open up. So I don't see a major argument with volumes being traded after the post-US market opening in the evening for our Nifty futures out there. Now, whether brokers are ready for it, what it means for traders, etc., is a subject of debate. But you could see some logic because on a great opening for the US market, you could see the Nifty futures swing around quite a bit. I just hope they don't do it for the entire market, because that, I think, will mean brokers doubling their teams and also media channels like ours.
Come back, come back.
Doubling their teams, doubling their working hours, I don't know, doubling what not. But we still have about a minute and a half to go. By the way, Intellect Design Arena is one stock that could be in focus. Very good numbers, and the stock is up almost about 5%.
And, you know, Sonia, rupee has reversed all of a sudden. You know, it opened strong, and now it's, you know...
it was crazy, you know. It should never have opened so strong because the cues were against. I mean, crude is at 75 and... okay, now 66.90. It should have been 67. I was a little shocked that it should have been strong at all. Maybe there was just some one big deal going or some unfinished business from Friday. Otherwise, it should have been headed lower. No two ways about it. Even bonds, the initial 7.58, I think has gotten sold into. Now it was more like 7.61 when I last saw. But anyway, it's good news for the bond markets, and therefore it should be positive.
Okay. Then quickly, if you can, come back to that argument on IT. I mean, TCS was the only clean beat this time around, but how do you approach all of them now?
Well, it's a big one. I mean, TCS, the market leader, actually beat. But, HCL Tech was such a damn squib, and I think the market will start looking at HCL Tech as a low-growth stock now. 4 to 6% growth just does not cut it. The one argument I keep hearing about is that, HCL Tech trades at 13, 14 times, so valuations are in its favor. But if I were an investor, I would consider paying that 15% premium and owning Infosys now rather than HCL Tech, which is showing better growth metrics. And if you want to take a little bit more risk, 10 to 12% growth for Hexaware, though it's expensive at 20 times. But I think there are a lot of higher growth options, TCS included,